Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. The boys over at Patent Sounds have just released a new Kalimba Plus instrument, which is available for both Contact and Decent Sampler. There's also an expansion MIDI pack you can get with it. The Kalimba is £5, and the Kalimba and the expansion pack together are £8. I thought I'd do something different today and cook up a trap beat instead of a drill one, using that Kalimba and the MIDI files as the main sound in the melody. If you're new around here and not subscribed and don't want to miss out on content like this in the future, make sure to click the subscribe button and the little bell next to it and you won't miss out on any future uploads. With all that out of the way, let's have a look at this Kalimba and start cooking up. I've got it open here in Contact, but it's available in Decent Sampler as well. As you can see right off the bat, it's a nice clean interface and it has all the knobs you'd expect, such as attack, sustain, decay and release, and of course the main volume. It also comes with several different presets, and they can be selected using these pink keys down here. Here's a quick preview of the different presets, and then I'm going to pick one using some of the MIDI files from the expansion pack and start cooking up. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description for the Kalimba and also for the expansion pack, so you can pick them up for yourself if you'd like to give them a go. Okay, so I've chosen a preset that I like and played around with the different MIDIs. I like the sound of this one and I'm going to use that for my main melody. As far as processing, I've got an equalizer on there taking out a lot of the lows, and also this dip here in the mids as there was a harsh frequency that I wasn't quite happy with. I added the Fin Micro with the Earth to Ist preset, and also Guitar Rig with the Airy Vocals preset, as this and the Fin Micro together give it an airier, spacey sound. After that I started looking around for other sounds that I thought would complement it and go well with the main melody. I recently got hold of this free beta kit from Team Producer Grind called the Experiment Club. It's a preview of their upcoming pack and it's got some nice analog presets in there. I went for the one called Hendrix, which itself is an airy, ethereal kind of sound, and basically followed along the root notes of the Kalimba MIDI to flesh it out a little. After that I found this guitar, and for that I alternated between every other bar I'd play the root note, and then for every bar after that I came up with this little riff, making sure I stayed within the notes within the scale. And as far as processing for that goes, I added the same Guitar Rig preset Airy Vocal and turned the mix down to about 45%. I also added another instance of that Hendrix preset in Analog Lab and copied the Kalimba MIDI exactly. I did this so I could add it in certain sections, take it away in others, which gives me some flexibility in arrangement. That's already sounding nice, but it's all quite high frequency wise, so then I looked around for a sub bass. Within that same experiment pack beta, I found this bass in Analog Lab called 1986 20 years later. Despite the convoluted name, it's a fire bass, listen to it. And then with that, I pretty much followed the root notes again. And this is the pattern that I came up with for the sub bass. Anybody who's seen my stuff before knows that I love a vocal, so I started looking around for something I could add here. I found this phrase hum preset from the Voices of 80 Contact Bank, came up with this pattern and then bounced it out to WAV so I could manipulate it further. Once it was out as WAV, I chopped some of it up as it didn't quite make 8 bars, and then reversed the bit that I'd chopped up and added it towards the end to fill it out. Just a quick note in post-edit, I can now see that's clearly not what I did. I just took the end of the first 4 bars and copied it over to the end of the 8 bars. I don't know why I thought it was so complicated, it clearly isn't. Thanks Avril, now back to the video. Finally I used 2 more one-shots from that Cymatics kit that was free in my last video, and added those at the end of the 4 and 8 bars respectively, as I thought it was a nice way to finish them off. That's pretty much it melody wise. This is how it's sounding so far and I'm pretty pleased with it. After that, down onto the drums. For the drums I started with a hi-hat, came up with this pattern here, some velocity changes for bounce, and also these notes playing a couple of semitones higher, again mainly to give it some more bounce. I then added this simple but hard hitting snare pattern, and I placed the notes on the A-sharp 4 because I thought it sounded nicer there. I also added this counter snare and had it panning left to right constantly, which is something that I often do in drill beats but don't normally do in trap, but when I tried it I liked the way it sounded so I kept it in. Here's how the drums are sounding together at the moment. Pretty happy with that bounce, and now it's onto the 808. I found this nice trappy sounding 808 in the Paint & Sounds Phoenix drum kit and played around in the root notes of the MIDI from the Kalimba until I came up with a pattern I was pretty happy with. I then went in and added some kicks on most but not all of the 808 notes. I've got it mixed how I normally have it mixed for drill, with the velocity turned up all the way as well, with the notes placed on A4 rather than C5, as I feel it just hits harder here. So here's how all the drums sound together. Okay, so that's pretty much all the elements together, the melody and the drums. Time to go on to the arrangement. Okay, to start with I've got the Kalimba and those Hendrix root notes playing before the guitar and then the sub bass get introduced. I've also added Filter Freak with the super high pass filter in the first 8 bars, but then it's automated off. The little riser plays and then this melody continues with the hi-hats and snare added as well. Right before the drop I've cut the sub bass out for the last bar, as well as losing the hi-hats for half of that bar. For the hooks I've taken out the sub bass and the Hendrix root notes pattern, but added in the 808s, the kicks and that panning counter snare. This all plays for the first 8 bars of the hooks, is then repeated for the second 8 bars, and I've also added those vocals. As we get into the verse, I want to strip all the energy down, so the Kalimba is the same pattern as before, but it's had half time applied and then been bounced out to WAV. The guitar is the same pattern but it's 1 octave lower, and the same thing goes for that Hendrix root pattern. This all goes to achieve a lower energy for the verse, that way it's easy for the artist to distinguish the difference between the two, and also adds to the energy of the hooks in comparison. After the first 8 bars, I've brought in that Hendrix pattern that follows the Kalimba MIDI. I've also brought the sub bass back in as there's no 808s in the verse, and I also added this cymbal splash right at the start as a bit of a transition. You'll see that I've cut out little bits of hi-hat and snare here and there where I thought it was needed, as sometimes space and silence is just as important as the sounds that are playing. It helps to break things up, it can stop things sounding too samey, and also keep the listener interested. In the final 8 bars before the bridge, those same instruments play again, but I've now added the guitar in as well. Once we get to the bridge itself, it's super stripped down, there's no drums at all, with the guitar playing, the Hendrix MIDI playing, but I bounced it out to WAV and lowered it by 1 octave, the vocals are playing, and a little cymbal splash again as a transition. I've also added this underwater plugin from Thanaton, and automated it on for the bridge, as well as adding this automation on the Filter Freak that I used at the start of the intro. After the bridge, the hooks come in again, and they're exactly the same as the hooks that played the first time. And then to finish the beat off, I've got the Kalimba, the vocals, 1 note of the 808, I've automated the master volume to fade out. And that's pretty much the beat done. I'm really pleased with how this one turned out. Hopefully you like the beat too. Leave a like and a comment if you do, and let me know what you thought of it. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description for the Kalimba and the MIDI expansion pack and the bundle if you want to get them both together. If you liked the video and got something out of it and not subscribed yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the little bell next to it so you won't miss out on any future videos like this one. If you made it all the way through to the end, big up to you, I appreciate the support. But until the next time, stay safe, be productive, and I'll catch you on the next one.